Good morning. The nation awoke today to deeply unsettling news that has sent shockwaves across South Africa and reignited long-standing fears about the deadly intersection of politics, power, and violence. A former senior leader of the African National Congress has been shot dead in what police have described as a calculated and targeted assassination. The killing, which took place yesterday afternoon, has not only shaken the ruling party to its core but has also stirred widespread anxiety among citizens who see this as yet another sign of a dangerous and escalating pattern of political violence. While investigators are still piecing together the full circumstances, the information released so far paints a chilling picture of an operation carried out with precision, confidence, and apparent disregard for public safety. According to preliminary police reports, the shooting occurred outside a private residence in one of Johannesburg's northern suburbs, an area generally considered secure and well-patrolled. The former ANC leader, whose identity has not yet been officially released pending family notification, had reportedly just returned home from a meeting when he was ambushed. Eyewitnesses say two armed men approached shortly after he arrived, opening fire without warning. Neighbors reported hearing between 3 and 4 gunshots ring out in quick succession before a black vehicle sped away from the scene. Paramedics were called immediately and arrived within minutes, but there was nothing they could do. The victim had sustained multiple gunshot wounds and was pronounced dead at the scene. One shaken witness described the moment as surreal, saying the shots were followed by an eerie silence, and by the time security personnel emerged, the attackers were already gone. The brazen nature of the killing, carried out in broad daylight and in a residential area, has intensified fears that the perpetrators were professional hitmen operating with a clear plan and advanced intelligence. Such an attack has raised troubling questions about how deeply entrenched and confident networks of violence may have become. The South African Police Service has since confirmed that a specialized high-level task team focusing on organized crime and political violence has been deployed to investigate the murder. SAP spokesperson Colonel Muzo addressed the media during a brief evening press conference, confirming the death and stating that while no arrests have yet been made, investigators are actively pursuing several leads. He emphasized that authorities are treating the matter with the utmost seriousness and are following up on all available information. Although police have not officially confirmed a motive, they have not ruled out political reasons, particularly given the victim's past involvement in senior government roles and long-standing internal disputes within the ANC. Investigators are also examining whether the killing may be linked to private business interests, as the former leader was known to have been involved in various ventures after stepping back from frontline politics. Law enforcement officials are reportedly working closely with intelligence agencies to determine whether recent political tensions, corruption probes, or internal power struggles may have played a role in the assassination. The man at the center of this tragedy was once a prominent and influential figure within the African National Congress, serving in senior positions during the early 2000s and retaining significant influence within several provincial structures even after leaving active politics. Those who worked closely with him describe him as intellectually sharp, deeply principled, and unwavering in his beliefs. He was known as someone who took the ideals of freedom, accountability, and justice seriously, often speaking passionately about the moral responsibilities of leadership. In recent years, however, his relationship with the party's current leadership had reportedly become strained. Friends and former colleagues say he had grown increasingly outspoken, openly criticizing what he saw as corruption, mismanagement, and destructive factionalism within the ANC. He had not shied away from public commentary and was said to be frustrated by what he viewed as the erosion of the movement's founding values. According to several close associates, he was also in the final stages of writing a personal memoir that promised to reveal behind-the-scenes details of political battles, betrayals, and controversial decisions made during his time in office. Some now believe that this project may have placed a target on his back. One associate, speaking anonymously, said the former leader knew too much and wasn't afraid to speak, adding that he had recently begun naming names and exposing uncomfortable truths. It has also emerged that the victim had allegedly received several veiled threats in the months leading up to his death. Despite warnings from those close to him, he reportedly refused to be intimidated, insisting that transparency and truth were worth the risk. His inner circle described him as fearless but not naive, fully aware that challenging powerful interests could come with severe consequences. In the weeks before the shooting, he was said to be finalizing the last chapters of his memoir and planning a series of public lectures focused on ethics in government, accountability, and the future of South Africa's democracy. These initiatives, some now fear, may have further increased the danger he faced. News of the assassination spread rapidly, triggering an outpouring of shock, anger, and grief across the country. The ANC released a brief statement describing the killing as a devastating loss to the movement and the nation, while calling on law enforcement agencies to act swiftly and decisively to bring those responsible to justice. Opposition parties were equally vocal, condemning the violence and raising serious concerns about the state's ability to protect political figures, particularly those who challenge powerful networks. Democratic Alliance leader John Steenhuisen described the killing as a grave warning sign, stating that targeted violence against truth-tellers threatens the very foundations of democracy and demanding a full, transparent investigation free from political interference. The economic freedom fighters echoed similar concerns, warning that the continued failure to prevent or solve politically linked murders undermines public confidence in state institutions. On social media, the reaction was immediate and intense. Within minutes, hashtags related to the killing began trending nationwide, with thousands of South Africans expressing outrage, fear, and frustration. Users shared tributes, old photographs, and video clips from the late leader's years in office, recalling his fiery speeches and his outspoken stance against inequality and corruption. Many called on the government to confront what they see as a growing epidemic of political assassinations that has claimed the lives of councillors, whistleblowers, activists, and senior figures in recent years. Security analysts have warned that this assassination could have far-reaching consequences, both within the ANC and beyond. Some believe it could deepen existing divisions within the party, which is already grappling with internal infighting and ongoing corruption allegations. Others fear it may further erode public trust in the justice system, especially if the case remains unresolved. One Johannesburg resident, speaking emotionally to reporters, said that each killing makes people lose a little more faith that accountability will ever be achieved, reinforcing a sense that powerful individuals operate above the law. At the crime scene, police have sealed off the area and begun a meticulous forensic investigation. Surveillance footage from nearby homes and traffic cameras is being reviewed, and ballistics experts are analyzing shell casings recovered at the scene, believed to have been fired from a 9mm handgun commonly associated with contract-style killings. Authorities are also examining the victim's recent phone records, messages, and correspondence to identify any threats or suspicious contacts prior to the attack. Investigators have not ruled out the possibility that the gunmen were hired assassins, noting similarities between this killing and previous politically linked murders. Forensic teams have reportedly collected crucial evidence, including tire marks believed to belong to the getaway vehicle and footage showing two masked men entering the neighborhood shortly before the shooting. Investigators suspect the attackers may have been monitoring the victim's movements for several days, carefully choosing the moment to strike. A senior police official, speaking on condition of anonymity, revealed that intelligence agencies are now exploring potential links between the assassination and a recent corruption inquiry that implicated several influential figures within the party. Political analysts say the implications of this killing could be profound, particularly as the country moves closer to the next national elections. If the murder is proven to be connected to internal power struggles or efforts to silence dissent, it could destabilize the political landscape and deepen public cynicism. Analyst Kim Tobo described the situation as a critical moment for South Africa, arguing that how authorities handle this case will determine whether citizens still believe in the rule of law. He warned that the apparent normalization of violence against political figures and whistleblowers represents a dangerous shift in the country's political culture. Civil society organizations and transparency advocates have joined the growing chorus of outrage, calling for stronger protections for whistleblowers and public figures who expose wrongdoing. Activists argue that the government has failed to create an environment where individuals can safely speak out against corruption without fear for their lives. At a candlelight vigil held outside ANC headquarters in Johannesburg, hundreds gathered to mourn the fallen leader and demand justice. Placards bearing messages such as "Justice for the Fallen" and "Stop Political Killings" reflected the deep anger and desperation felt by many. As speculation continues to swirl, theories about the motive range from revelations in the victim's upcoming memoir to unresolved disputes over past government contracts involving large sums of money. Others point to personal vendettas or long-standing rivalries fueled by policy disagreements and procurement battles. For now, however, the truth remains obscured by layers of fear, secrecy, and political intrigue. The identities of the gunmen are still unknown, and investigators have yet to confirm a definitive motive. What is certain is that South Africa has once again lost a prominent figure to targeted violence, reinforcing a grim pattern that threatens the country's democratic future. As the streets of Johannesburg remain tense, filled with grief and suspicion, the nation waits anxiously for answers. For many citizens, this tragedy is not just about the death of one man, but about a system that appears unable or unwilling to protect those who challenge entrenched power. In the days ahead, investigators are expected to release more information, and the public will be watching closely to see whether justice is finally served or whether, as has happened too often before, another political killing will fade into silence. For now, the country mourns, haunted by an unsettling question that grows louder with each passing hour: who truly benefits when those who speak the truth are silenced?